All right, so today's class, we have basically three purposes. Let me see if I can remember them. Oh yes, one, the purpose is called uh, Empath Survival Guide. So purpose number one is Empath Survival Guide. So we'll be doing a lot of practices that involve creating the energy bubble around oneself. Um, and then just learning sort of like how empathy and intuition works from a Taoist and medical Qigong perspective, which gives us a lot of clues that when it's going in ways that are uncomfortable, how we can sort of hack our own system to make that process of intuition less uncomfortable. So that's one, is Empath Survival Guide. Second purpose is medical Qigong clinical tools, which are one of those tools is going to be how to develop one's intuition, how to develop what they might call high sense perception or some of these subtler faculties so that one could use that in I learned this as in terms of clinical treatment. First, when I was trained as a shiatsu therapist, I learned a lot of these tools in learning shiatsu. And then when I was trained as a medical Qigong therapist, the same thing, all of this intuitive sort of diagnostic ability. Don't tell the FDA I said diagnostic. I meant intuitive assessment. But so there's a lot of cool stuff in that. And then where that comes through is a lot of the folks on here are Qigong instructors in training. And so this actually determines in that relationship, you have to do a lot of communication, right? I mean, we all have to do a lot of communication, but then when you add like hierarchies or like people going into altered states or dealing with these old Taoist mystical traditions and stuff, it's a whole other ball of wax than you might expect. You know, I was taught this in terms of like business ethics as a yoga teacher, that, you know, the job of a yoga teacher is to put people into altered states where they're experiencing bliss. And then one of the problems is that they can have a transference issue where they blame that bliss on you. And your job as the yoga teacher is to not accept that and allow for the problems that, you know, all of the weird like guru controversies and stuff like that. One of the foundation stones of that is letting people blame their spiritual states on your ego, right? So there's all of these kind of tips that you might want to know that are in this medical Qigong repertoire of techniques that help work with energetically entrained states and altered states of consciousness, and, you know, all of this stuff that comes up in the practice of Qigong and transformational practice that requires some specific tools. That's goal number two. Goal number three is how to communicate in all of our relationships while incorporating subtle perceptual ability. Let's say it that way, subtle perceptual ability. And I like saying subtle perceptual ability because that can include both, whether you want to think about this in kind of a totally materialistic way, you know, of like, yeah, it's just subtle body language cues and olfactory cues, or whether you think, you know, there's like some deeper energetic strata that you can feel a disturbance in the force or something. Either way, you can call it subtle perceptual abilities. You're, instead of a knack for the obvious, which is a good thing to have, you're also developing a knack for the subtle. And when that happens, some of us, myself included, and some people I know, have had this challenge that as you begin to perceive more subtly, you'll be in a conversation with a loved one, and they'll say something, and inside you'll go, wait, that doesn't match. I'm feeling like they mean something else. Have you ever had this experience? Like somebody's saying something, you're like, oh, that doesn't match. Okay, so a problem there that we'll get into is that some of that is probably coming from them. They may be presenting to you an incongruence, and at other times, you're feeling a mismatch because they made a facial expression that took you back to being 7 years old when someone lied to you, and you just projected that on the situation. Has anybody ever had that experience where you were like, oh, I'm feeling really scared because I think you're lying, and they're like, no, I can prove to you that here's the evidence, here's the bank statements, here's the thing. It's like, well, but where's my feeling come from? Well, there's all these different sources of feeling. And so one of the things, as one is engaged in transformational practices, not only does your like psychic sensitivity, or we'd say subtle perceptual awareness, come up, right? That I believe and have found that really does come up, but also your old emotional material gets closer to the surface because you become a more feeling being. As we do all these vibrations and movements of the body, you feel more. And so we want to have practices that help us to disambiguate, like, where am I feeling my feelings about my mom, and where am I feeling an intuition about you? And then there are other points. One that sort of came to my mind while I was chatting with a friend over dinner last night was like, let's say you're in a relationship like with an intimate partner or something like that. And if you're kind of a meditator or spiritually transformationally minded person, you'll get insights about their life. Like, you'll be in meditation and it'll go like, oh, they need to do this. But then very few people I've ever found who are my intimate partners respond well when I just come and say, hey, you need to do this. They're like, don't boss me around. I'm like, no, I intuited it. I'm a meditator. Ooh, did you see the third eye? Like, that's your warning that I'm a meditator. I'm going to tell you what to do with your life. So there's a trick there that we want to learn to manage, which is, you do have information for them. You will get accurate, intuitive information about others in meditation. And there's a way to communicate that with them that isn't hierarchical, disempowering, shaming, ego-based, or just plain wrong. So there's all of these cute little pitfalls that we can learn to hurdle over. And there's a whole realm of joyful experience that we can play in with subtle perceptual ability in communication. Okay, sound good? Cool, cool. Let me just read these comments. Oh, good. So we've got some affirmation. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Okay, beautiful. I know, wouldn't that be a great week-long retreat? And then we could all like pod off and do practice sessions, and then we'd develop a bunch of triggers about each other, but then by the end we'd have worked them out, and then we'd all hug because we had taken a COVID test before the retreat, and like, it would be great. Okay. Anyway, you guys, I'm grateful that you're here, and let's get on. I wear the mask for your benefit, Batman. So let's get on with it. Those are our where we're headed. And the first thing that we're going to do is do our morning practice session. So I just want to let you know, you all found your way here somehow. I did post a little announcement with the Zoom link, but I'm imagining you all figured out that Zoom library. And in it, we had the syllabus for the day. So let's just look at that briefly, because I can. Momentito. Señorito. Señorito. Wouldn't that be like little mister? I think señorito means little mister. I don't know if you're supposed to say it that way, but you know, whatever. Rules are for fools, bro. Okay. Almost there, you guys. I'm just fiddling with the tech. I'm starting to branch out and learn how to techify my life. So here we go. Hey, looky there. All right, so this is what we're going to do today. Welcome and intro. Check mark. We did it. Qigong Protocol 1. Here it goes. So I'll just give you a little brief intro, and if you are taking notes at this point, feel free to jot a few down, and we'll have time for questions and answers after as well. So we're going to do warm-ups, and any kind of warm-up we'll do here. We're going to do shaking heaven to earth because it's a simple warm-up. But those of you who have a Qigong practice or a yoga practice or anything, it's just to get the energy flowing and freed up in your body. Okay, then we're going to do the 1 through 10 Shen Gong and the 3 invocations. And the 1 through 10 Shen Gong, in case you haven't done this before, we did the 1 through 4 in the immersion we did over the spring and summer. And this is a meditation, a Taoist Qigong meditation that has little rhyming cues. 1 is fun, 2 is shu, 3 is tree, 4 is core, etc. You'll hear them. But the purpose for this, so you know why we're doing this while we're doing it, the purpose for this is that these are all cues in your energy body that you want to develop for managing our energy system for dealing with this type of the challenges and the triumphs of high subtle perceptual ability. So one of them, 5 alive, is you're doing this visualization where energy is rushing up from the earth and through this microcosmic orbit channel, and it's overflowing your center of vitality at the belly, and then it pours out through your hands. And we do this as medical Qigong practitioners to get you used to the idea that while energy is emitting from you, it's continually being resupplied from the earth. And so you can keep this, like you could think of like a positive pressure in the pipes. Well, what does that do? If you have positive pressure in the pipes, it means you don't get any backflow, right? So in like a medical Qigong healing clinic, you want to be the influential source rather than having the client influence you so much. You want to be able to sense them. You're like, oh, wow, that feels like liver qi stagnation. But you don't want to absorb their liver qi stagnation and then be in a bad mood the rest of the day. I've done it. I can tell you, you don't want to. I tried it for you. And a couple of the acupuncturists on here can tell you, like, they forgot to energetically glove up before the session, and like it'll ruin your day. So though that's the 1 through 10, that's particularly number 5. There are a couple more. The other one that we're going to work with is 9 is shine at the end, which also deals with this positive energy flow. Let me let this cat out. Oh, hi. Here you go. Gotta watch out for positive energy flow in cats. Okay, so then we're gonna do that. The 3 invocations is another aspect of connecting with this imagery of divine energy, infusing your body and your space. And we'll get into why these are in this protocol a little more later. Then we're gonna do advanced Taoist healing sounds purification. So a lot of you did the regular healing sounds in our immersion over the summer. And these are going to be a more intense version of this. These are sounds that in the medical Qigong clinics for cancer, they'll use. And we're going to use them because they help to break up emotional stagnation in your body very, very quickly. So more on that later, but that's why they're in here. And then we're going to do an advanced healing light tonification. So once you clean it out, you can fill it up. And finally, cultivating the luminous pearl and the 5 animal protection meditation, which is a really cool meditation from like old shamanic Taoism to strengthen the sense of an energetic bubble around your body. So this is what's on our plate for practice. And then for the rest of this first part of the morning, we're going to be discussing a concept called cognitive overlay. And then we'll go right into projection, transference, emotional baggage, and all sorts of cool stuff. So that's what's on our plate. And if you are ready, then we're going to practice together. Are you ready? Excellent. So let us find ourselves a nice standing position. You could do this sequence we're going to do seated if you wanted to, but I'm going to lead it standing. So Feel free to follow along however feels good. All righty. Ready, set, go. Here's our warm-up. We're going to shake heaven to earth. So starting with your hands. And we can wake up our inner smile. So smile to your wrists, your fingers, your knuckles, your thumbs, etc. Then bring it into your elbows. And we're going to smile into those elbows. Always shake them loose. Bring it into your shoulders. And you anatomy types, nerds, they used to call us, feel all the different joints in your shoulders. The AC joint and the GH joint and the SC joint, you know, all of those guys. Okay, and then shake it forward, gorilla. And then shake it backwards, Coachella. Okay, one more, gorilla. And then I just got to Hawaii. Oh, yeah. All right, find your tummy. Smile to your inner organs. Wake them up a little bit. And then soft fists on your kidneys just to hold them. And then imagine you can bounce those kidneys up and down a little bit. Good. Pick up one leg. Shake out the hip, knee, the ankle. And then like you were a big salt shaker down through the foot chakra, shake out any stagnation, feelings of tension from the body. Imagine them going into the earth. Other side, here we go. Hip, knee, ankle, and the big pepper shaker. Really just get the sense that you can just drop any tension, any unnecessary energy down into the core of the earth to be transformed. All right, then we're going to twist the body side to side. And go ahead and let your heel come up so you can get a nice big twist. All the meridians are getting squeezed and stretched and elongated. You can smile to them, of course. Hands tapping lightly. Good. Then slap the shoulder and look back with your eyeballs. Slapping the shoulder and look backing with the eyeballs. This helps to open up the upper spine. Good, then we're going to change our twist. So now I was shifting toward the side I was turning to. Now I'm going to shift away, and my toes are actually coming up. You can't see them on camera, but so I'm shift and toes up, shift and toes up. And your hands will naturally come around and whack you on the behind because you have been naughty. I'm sorry to tell you. So you need to give that behind a whack. And this is to help open up the hips and the lower spine. And if you want, you can even turn your head and look back toward your opposite heel. Good. Okay, come to the center, three-way stretch. Inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale up and lean back. And then exhale, pulling with the sound, hi. Two more, inhale. Forward. Inhale back. In, hi. One more time, breathing in. Out. In and lean back. Exhale, pull it in. Hi. Pulling down heavens 3 times with the ha sound. Inhale. Imagine clearing the energy body again. One more time. Okay, dropping into the Wuji posture. We'll do a quick Wuji meditation, which is just to relax and feel your body. Just notice what's going on in your body. How does your body feel? And noticing the breath. How does the breath feel? Is it easy to breathe? Is there more inhale or more exhale? What parts move with the breath? And finally, noticing your mind. Is the mind noisy or quiet, grumpy or jubilant? Not trying to change anything, just noticing what's present. Good. So we'll remain in our standing meditation, or if for any reason that's uncomfortable for you, you can sit or even lie down, although having your feet on the ground for this meditation is going to be the best. So moving into our 1 through 10, your eyes can be closed or open. This is an internal meditation. So 1 is fun, and this means a version of the inner smile. So you're going to imagine like a beautiful golden sunlight shining toward your face, not too strong. And you feel as this light hits the face, it melts and relaxes all the tissues from the face into the neck. It flows down your shoulders and relaxes all the way down the arms to the hands. And then it continues to flow down through the chest like a wave of relaxation down through the belly, down through the pelvis, the front of the thighs, the knees, tops of the feet, and all the way to the toes. A wave of relaxation and your inner smile. Then same thing, like this beautiful golden sunlight was shining on the back of the head. Now you feel all the back of your skull relax. As this light shines down through the base of the skull, it relaxes and melts down through the shoulder muscles, and then again down through your arms. Relaxing, relaxing, relaxing. Feel this golden light shine now down through the back muscles and the spine, all the way down through your waist, down through the sacrum and the buttocks. Smile and relax down through your hamstrings, the back of the knees. A wave of golden light down through the back of the calves and into the heels. Imagine another beautiful golden sun right above the top of the head. And this golden light energy comes in through the crown of the head, and your smile goes into your brain. Feel it relaxing. All the sense organs relax, and then down through the throat. And again, laterally through the shoulders and down through the bones of your arms, relaxing even into the marrow. And then down through the torso, feeling your heart and lungs relax. All the way down into the ribs, feeling your liver and your stomach and spleen and pancreas and kidneys all relax. And down into the belly, your intestines relax. All the way down into the pelvic bowl, the reproductive organs relax. And down through the marrow bones of your legs, down through your knees, shin bones, all the way through the bones of the feet. Feel your whole body totally relaxed. 1 is fun. Then 2 is shoe. So now your awareness is in your feet, and the more you relax down, feel energetically almost like your feet melt. And so the energy field of your feet spreads out to the front, to the sides, to the back, like an ice cube melting, spreading out in all directions. Just imagine your feet begin to merge with the energy of the earth, which moves right into 3 is tree. Imagine that as your feet merge with the energy of the earth, they turn into tree roots. And these roots grow down. The more you relax, the deeper they grow, letting those roots grow down into the earth. Keeping that 1 is fun. Don't try too hard, just enjoy it. What would it be like to feel roots growing from the bottoms of your feet and merging with the energy of the earth? Let them grow straight down as well as to the front, the back, the 2 sides. And then the more you relax down, we begin to transition to 4 is core, which is you can smile and relax all the way down to the center of the earth. If you let your awareness go, if you release downward, 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 you can feel down toward the core of the earth. Or just imagine that you can feel this great power of the earth like a golden light energy. And where your feet are plugged into the earth, where your roots are in the earth, this golden light energy begins to pulse up and sort of fill up through your legs. And the more you relax down, it fills up even more. So now this golden light is flowing up through your legs like tubes, reaches all the way to your tailbone and begins to flow up the spinal channel, the governing vessel. Relax down more and feel the energy from the earth flood up more through the legs as it flows all the way to the crown, all the way down the front of the face, down this front channel through the throat, all the way down into fill the belly. And imagine now you have this golden light energy flowing up from the earth, over the spine, all the way up over the crown, down the front, filling up the belly with this golden light. The more you relax into the earth, the more you feel this golden energy come up and fill. Come up and fill. Make this a continual flow. So at the beginning, sometimes you'll use your breath, like inhaling the energy up, to the crown, exhaling down and fill the belly. But as soon as you can, transition to where you just feel constantly from the earth. It's flowing over the crown, down to fill the belly, constantly from the earth, constantly filling that dantian. Now imagining that dantian is so full of golden light, it begins to overflow. And imagine that it flows up. You don't have to know what channel it follows. It flows up and down through your two arms. Turn your palms forward and imagine this golden light begins to flow out through your palms. So at the same time that we've relaxed into the earth, the energy is still flowing up through the legs, over the crown to fill the belly. It now also flows up, overflows from the belly center and out through your palms. The more you relax, the more energy flows through this circuit, out through your palms, and imagine the whole room now is filling up with this golden light. More light pours out through your palms, the more the room fills with a golden mist. The more the golden light energy of the earth flows in, fills up your lower cauldron and overflows, pouring out through your palms, filling the room with a golden mist. This is 5 alive. Then moving into 6 is thick. Relax your hands, relax that visualization, and just feel now that the room is filled with a golden energy. Feel the atmosphere on all the different parts of your skin. And imagine that as you inhale, your body expands slightly, and just feel yourself pressing against this thick atmosphere. When you exhale, everything sort of goes back to normal. When you inhale, imagine you can feel like you push the walls away slightly. Like the whole room inflates with your inhale as you're pressing against this thick atmosphere of golden mist. 6 is thick. Then 7 is heaven. You're going to roll your eyes up toward the crown of your head. Lift the pelvic floor muscles just a little bit, and you imagine your body now grows taller than your house. So it's your spirit body. So you grow right out through the roof. You can look down, hey, there's my house down there. And then it grows even taller. Whoa, you ate the magic beans. Uh-oh. It grows even taller. Now you're in the clouds. You can look down, oh my gosh, there's all of California or Florida or whatever. Even taller. Oh no, I can see the whole continent. Even taller. Oh, the planet's getting farther away. And you grow so tall, you feel as if you're in the vault of heaven, like in the ancient mystical drawings where like the fixed stars were like a plane, like a ceiling above you. So your head is right below the starlight, your waist is in the clouds, and your feet are down on the earth. Then 8 is gate. Visualize and imagine the central channel of your body from your crown to your pelvic floor, a beautiful radiant channel of light like a lightsaber in the center of your body. 8 is gate means opening the energy gate so you feel like all the tiny chakras of your pores open up, and from all those stars and from all that earth and from every direction you inhale and energy comes into that lightsaber at the center core channel. When you exhale, it gets brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter. Again, on the inhale, light comes in from every direction, particularly from heaven, but also from the earth. The lightsaber gets brighter, 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 brighter. One more time, you inhale all the light from the universe, pours into you, you light up your own light within. Transitioning to 9 is shine. One more time, you inhale all that light in. And then as you exhale, see the light in your center core grow so bright that then it blasts out in every direction. Just imagining it shining, shining, brighter, brighter, brighter. See that light going out farther, farther, farther. Feel or imagine that this drops you into an awareness of your real nature according to these Taoist practitioners, which is pure luminosity. Just a constant source, this free energy machine just continually illuminating. Your light shines out in every direction. Feel the intrinsic freedom of that. Good. Then we move into the 3 invocations. So these go with movements. So open your eyes if they're closed so you can follow if you don't already know them. So the first one is the pulling down the heavens movement. You reach up. You imagine divine light is pouring down from above. And as you exhale, you pour that down through your body and you just feel like it completely blesses, upgrades, optimizes your whole system, aligns you with the Dao. Second invocation, you inhale, reach up, connecting with that divine light. Now you pull it through your body, which is now like a tube. It's already been primed. And you imagine sending that light into the floor, the ceilings, the walls and the ceiling of your space. You're creating like a sacred temple. You've blessed the entire room. Last one, you inhale, reach up, connecting with that divine light, pull it down, and imagine that this light anchors itself in your lower dantian, this cauldron of the lower belly, the center of vitality. You feel it grows so bright, it overflows, fills your whole body with light, even radiates out into the energetic field. So your whole body is now full of luminosity. All your meridians are charged up. All your energy fields are charged up, dwelling in this divine light. Okay, and relax. So that's the prep. We have now prepped ourselves for the practices we're going to do, and we're going to start with our advanced healing sounds. So one thing to be aware of with these advanced healing sounds is the visualization that we'll do. The movements are very simple, so I'm not going to teach you a complex movement qigong today. The idea is your hands reach in to the organ, and they're going to grab any gunk that doesn't belong there, and then you toss it down into the earth. So very important in medical qigong, they say imagine that like a portal opens up and this energy flows down into the core of the earth to be transformed, to be transmuted into some kind of energy that will nourish something else. Don't throw it on your floor. So even if you're not too woo-minded, just think the psychology of it is, let it be transformed, rather than just like having this gunk in your room. So you can walk through it later. You don't want the cat to walk through that. You guys, come on. So this is the motion. So we're going to go through our internal organs. The other thing to know about this first is that the tone you'll do is your tone. So let's start with the lungs. And to find your tone for these, you'll put your hands on that physical part of your body. Then to get the resonance, you have to make yourself like a drum. So you sit down a little bit and you lift up the pelvic floor a little bit. So that this whole thing is kind of like taut, like a skin drum. Then the sound for the lungs that we'll use is shang, like S-H-A-N-G. Don't worry, we'll have a chance to write these down later. Shang. So what you want to do, I'll give you my tone and then you can do yours with the mute on. But you're going to start at a high tone. Shang. And that for me is where I feel all the vibration come up in my lungs, literally under my hands at this moment. I'm feeling vibration. You may not feel that. Sometimes it doesn't, people don't quite know how to get that to happen, but you can maybe sense like a subtle, like, oh, I think that's in my lungs. That's fine, just intuit it for a moment. So give it a try. Start on a high tone, descend until you feel it beneath your hands. I'll wait, I know you're on mute, so. Okay, so then once you have found it, then what you're going to do is on your inhale, you imagine reaching into the organ and you're just gathering up any gunk that doesn't belong there. On the exhale, you use the sound. What was my sound? Oh, there's my sound. Sha. And then you drop. You feel the gunk go down into the earth core. Composted, totally transmuted. So we got 4 more to go. Here we go. I'll do 2 with my sound on, and then I'll turn my sound off so you can find your tone more easily. Inhale, reach in. Sha. Okay, last one I'll do quiet so you can do your sound. And we'll do pulling down the heavens with a sigh. I'm just kind of resetting the system. I'm just imagining that you've just cleaned out, purged out whatever was in the lungs that didn't need to be there. Okay, second one for the kidneys. The advanced healing sound for the kidneys is you. Like, who, me? No, you. So I'll find my tone. You can put your hands on your kidneys and you do the descending tone. You, there's mine. You, me. Okay, so you find yours. And then this one's a little awkward with the hand motions, but you can do it. So you just feel like you're reaching in the kidneys, or some people feel like they can reach in from the front, whatever works for you. So you'll inhale. You drop. Inhale and reach it in. Two more. One more. Let go, let go, let go. Pull down heavens with a sigh. Just with the thought of resetting the system. Okay, the next one is for your liver. The liver sound is guo, like watch the glass guo. I just sat and watched the glass guo all day. So guo, and the guo sound kind of like breaks up stagnation in this liver center. So how do you find it? Well, you put your hands on. You can do this with me, or if my sound bothers you, I'll give you a second after I'm done. So I go my high tone to low tone. Ooh, ooh. Ooh, I have two. I'm going to use the lower one. Those both resonate in my liver. Ooh. So that's me. You can find yours. And then here we go. We dig in. Inhale. And just imagine any gunk that's not supposed to be there. Ooh. Drop it into the earth. I'll do a quiet one so you can do your own tone without me. Let go, let go, let go. Pull down with a sigh. Okay, the heart sound is jung. They usually translate with a Z-H-E-N-G, jung. And so you want to find, that was a pretty good tone for my heart, but I'll do the classic method. Jung. Oh, that one works even better. Jung. There's my tone. You find it by doing your descending tone and see what vibrates. And let's give it a try. Inhale in. Jung. Jung. Sometimes I also like to bring from the heart to the solar plexus and out. You can try that for a couple of rounds. Jung. Two more. And one more. Pull down. Flush. Okay, last is for your spleen and pancreas. And this is the sound gong, like ring a gong, G-O-N-G, gong. So finding your tone. Gong. Gong. That one will work for now. All right. And then here you go, reaching in. Gong. Two more. And one more. Let go, let go, let go. Pull down. Use the sigh. And rest. Feel your body, your breath, and your mind. Notice the changes. And relax. Okay, we're still in the middle of our practice, but we will pause there for just a moment. How's that feel to everybody? Okay? Groovy? Feeling good? All right, cool. So now we'll add a little intentionality to this. So those of you who have been doing these classes for a while, you've learned the organs have different emotions associated with them. And in last class, other classes, we talked about like why those associations are. This class, you just have to believe me. Or take next month's, I think next month is the advanced alchemy, and we'll go into some of that in like more detail. But for now, you just gotta believe me. So now we'll do just 3 of these. Yeah, if it makes your throat sore, sometimes that's gunk coming up. Sometimes you might be emoing it too much, doing too much screamo. So you can do this softer if necessary. So we don't want you to have a sore throat from this exercise. So as we'll go in, this time we'll add the intention. We'll just do 3. And so you're going to imagine you're gathering up sadness, grief, despair that is ready to be released from your lungs. You're going to shong it out and let it go, baby. You're going to gather up fear and analysis paralysis, and the regular kind too from your kidneys, and you're going to you it out. And let it go. You're going to gather up anger and rage and frustration from the liver, and you're going to guo it out. You're going to outguo it. You're going to gather up anxiety and mania from the heart, and you're going to jung it out. We might use the other heart sound because it's fun to learn too. There's an alternate one. And then we're going to gather up worry from the spleen and pancreas, and we're going to gong it out. So let's try it, just 3 of these, and then we'll go on to the rest of our meditation. Not too much more to go. So here we go. Sadness from the lungs. Inhale. Shang sound. Shang. Inhale. Just have the intention. Shanti. Or any emotions that are stuck in the lungs. Shanti. Let go, let go, let go. Pulling down, inhale. Haw it out. Just flush, let all the energy go. Fear from the kidneys. Here we go. Inhale. Just have the intention. Whatever fear it is, you gather it up, scoop it up, release it out. One more. Inhale. Let go, let go. Pull down with a sigh. And flush. So the liver gathering anger, frustration, rage, and blame. Here we go. Inhale. And release. Inhale. One more time. Pull down, inhale. Okay, from the heart, feelings of anxiety, mania, or overwhelm. And let's use the alternate heart sound, which is K, like K-E-U with the umlaut. K. So you're gonna reach into the heart and let go. K. Sometimes you gotta find your tongue in the middle. One more time. Pulling down with ha. And then finally to the spleen and pancreas, releasing worry with the gong sound. So inhaling in. Gong. Gong. One more time, inhale. Gong. And release. Pull it down. And then you can remain standing if you prefer, or you can take a seat. I'm going to sit for this part of the meditation, just because it helps me turn my mind down, turn my mind off more easily when I'm seated meditation. So staying in the zone, even though we've changed positions, We've just done all of this purging, letting go, and now we are going to nourish. So feeling into your lungs. And imagine as you feel out into the universe, the energy of this metal element of the lungs appears as a white light, as the energy of honor and integrity. And as you inhale, you can imagine this white light pulls into your lungs, and on the exhale, it gets brighter as it nourishes and tonifies those lungs. So I'm using my hands, but that's not, you can just be still if you want. But so you inhale, the white light comes in, and as you exhale, it gets brighter, brighter, brighter. You see your lungs glowing with this white light. Again, inhaling that white mist. And you feel your own sense of honor and integrity being augmented as this light begins to shine in your lungs. With 2 more breaths like this. And see now your lungs glowing with a white light, filled with this metal element energy of integrity and honor. And smiling to your kidneys and feeling out, imagining the whole universe is filled with a beautiful blue light. It carries this water element energy of wisdom. And as you inhale, you pull this blue light into your kidneys like a blue mist. When you exhale, the kidneys start to glow with this beautiful blue chi. So the inhale draws in like a beautiful blue mist, like a cobalt or a lapis. As you exhale, the kidneys glow, and it wakes up your innate virtue of wisdom. Inhale that blue light. Feel and imagine those kidneys get brighter and brighter. 1 more round. Good. Imagining your kidneys now filled with this blue energy, the innate virtue quality of wisdom and concentration. Smile now to your liver under the right rib cage. And imagine, feel out, imagine that the entire universe is filled with a beautiful green energy. This quality of freshness and the virtue of benevolence, of growth, of generosity. And as you inhale, you draw that green light, that wood energy into the liver. On the exhale, you see it grow brighter and brighter and brighter. The inhale draws in that green light. The exhale grows brighter and brighter and brighter. Continuing. Feel this green light activating your own gregarious inner sense of kindness and benevolence. Good, and then relax. Visualize the liver now filled with this green light, this energy of the wood element, its virtue of benevolence. Smile now to your heart. Imagine the universe is full of a red light, or if you tend to get too hot, if you're overwhelmed easily or you have psychic heat issues, you can imagine this as pink, like a rose-colored pink. It's a little more pastel. On the inhale, you pull that red or pink light into the heart. The exhale, you see it get brighter as it's nourished. You feel this as the innate virtue of peace and compassion. The fire element comes in and fills that heart organ. Grows brighter and brighter. It wakes up your own peaceful and compassionate mind. Do one more breath. Visualize and feel your heart as if it's filled with this red or pink light, the virtue of peace and compassion. And then smiling down to your spleen and your pancreas under the left rib cage. Feel that the entire universe is filled with a golden, beautiful, rich golden energy, conveying the sense of trust and groundedness of the earth element. And as you inhale, you pull that golden light into the spleen. As you exhale, it glows with a beautiful golden light. You inhale, you gather even more of this like golden mist. And the spleen, pancreas organ gets brighter and brighter and brighter. You inhale that golden light, you feel it wakes up your own innate sense of groundedness and your trust in however you experience the ground of your being. One more breath. Good. Visualizing that spleen and pancreas filled with this golden chi and this virtue of trust, groundedness. Now imagining down in your lower belly, halfway between the belly button and the base of the pelvic floor, where the womb space is, imagine a beautiful pearl of energy glowing and spinning softly in your subtle energy body. And as this pearl of light spins, imagine that this represents the essence of your being, your truest self, the innocent yet powerful being that exists behind your constructed persona. And imagine that the energies of all these organs that we've gathered, the elemental energies, continue to flow in. And these lights flow down and into that pearl as it spins. It's like it exerts a type of gravity. And it begins to fuse these lights together, gathering in the white from the lungs, the blue from the kidneys, green from the liver, the red or pink from the heart, gold and chi from the spleen, infusing them all as if they were nourishing your essence, nourishing those deepest qualities that you wish to cultivate in yourself. We're moving into the final portion of our meditation of the five direction protection meditation. So from your pearl, you smile up into the heavens, as if like a bolt of consciousness rises through the crown and connects to the pole star. And in Taoism, the pole star is the center of heaven. So you imagine it gathers the energy of all the stars and constellations, and they pour back down in through your crown like a purple light. This infuses that entire Taiji pole, the central channel of the body, with this purple chi, nourishing you with this subtle, beautiful energy of heaven. Feel it nourish that pearl in the lower dantian. Then connecting to the earth, we'll use a healing sound, the sound for the earth, which is a whoo, but it's like whoo, almost like you're a singing bowl. So from this pearl, you smile down into the earth as you use the sound whoo. We're tuning to the sound of the earth. You feel that golden chi rush up through your roots, up through the pelvic floor, and also fill that pearl, as well as spiral up and wrap the purple chi of your central channel. Just like ancient royalty, you're adorned in purple and gold in that essence of your being. Then imagine once again, now the red light from the universe flows in, and it flows into your heart. The heart grows brighter, brighter, brighter with this red, and you imagine the energy of your peace and compassion is going to emit out from the heart like a red light as you use the sound ha. So you exhale with the sound ha. Feel as if a red mist pours out and it creates the image of a red phoenix in front of you. Image of a red phoenix in front of you. And imagine that this phoenix represents your peace, your compassion. It's a bird of fire. Take in and notice anything you can about it. It's your phoenix. Notice its beauty. Then feeling the blue mist pouring into your kidneys with that energy of wisdom and concentration. Feel your kidneys grow brighter, brighter, brighter. We use the kidney sound, which is chue. And the sound is like a water wave cresting. So you're going to imagine now that blue mist pours out from the kidneys behind you, and it then takes the shape of a beautiful blue, black, dark turtle guarding the back of you. And this is representing both your innate wisdom, your power to concentrate, that's its shell, but it's also representing the power of your ancestry, all of those beings who have worked so hard so that you could exist now. Take in and notice everything you can about this turtle. It's your turtle. Feel then and notice the white light that's pouring continually into your lungs with the energy of honor, integrity, and courage. And from the lungs, they begin to overflow, and we'll use the lung sound, which is a S sound. And you imagine from right underneath the right rib cage, a white mist pours out, and it forms itself into a beautiful white tiger on your right side. White tiger representing this energy of honor and integrity, boundaries, healthy boundaries, and also your instinctual self. Your instinctual self. Take in and notice everything about this beautiful tiger warding this right side of your body. And then finally, feel that green mist from the universe flowing into your liver, tonifying and augmenting your sense of benevolence and kindness. We'll use the liver sound, which is a shoo sound. And imagine that as that green mist overflows, it emerges from below the left rib cage. Creates the shape of a beautiful green dragon on your left. This green dragon representing your kindness, your benevolence, that growing, generous energy of the wood element, and also representing your higher spiritual faculties. So visualizing now that you are arrayed by these 4 protector animals, the phoenix in the front, the turtle in the back, white tiger on your right, green dragon on your left. Feel their strength and their majesty, how they're a manifestation of these virtue energies of the 5 great elements according to Taoist philosophy. And now we're going to imagine that the animals start to move. So you can see the tiger prowling with its claws and its teeth. You can see the phoenix burning with its wings. You can see the dragon lashing with its tail. The turtle swimming and protecting with its shell. And they start to move in a counterclockwise direction. So the tiger moves to the front and the phoenix moves to your left. And the dragon moves to the back and the turtle moves to your right. And they continue on, turtle in the front and et cetera and et cetera. And they start warding around your body. And as they move in this counterclockwise direction, they actually give off tracers. So there's this little white sheen behind the tiger and a red sheen behind the phoenix, a blue sheen behind the turtle, a green light raying off of the dragon. And they start to prowl faster and faster. And their light begins to blend and merge into one another. So the animals become indistinct and this light continues, and as they move faster, mostly now you just see these lights spiraling around you. As they spiral faster and faster, your entire body arrayed with these lights of this protector energies. It goes faster and faster, and then all of a sudden these lights spiral up to the top of your head, and as a mist, they pour through your crown. Feel these energies separate in their own colors and go and nourish their own organs, as well as nourish the whole body, all of its meridians, all of its cells, And then the white light, the combination of these colors, begins to pour out through your pores like mist, pouring out stronger and stronger to the back, to the front, sides, above and below, until this mist makes a beautiful energy bubble about the length of your wingspan surrounding your body. Feel this light pouring into this energy bubble. And then bring your awareness back to your pearl in the lower belly, shining beautifully. And imagine yourself surrounded in this bubble, its energy supported by the pearl, this essence of your being. And just feel and imagine you could program into this energy bubble whatever intentions you have. Like, allow me to sense others, but only allow intimate energy to come in, those who I have approved, or radiate my values out into the world, radiate my compassion, let others see it, shine through this energy bubble. Whatever's important to you, feel that you can shine it out. If you have a practice of mantra or affirmation, you can almost feel that that's like inscribed on the energy bubble, vibrating there. And then tell it to stay. Let this construct remain as we now finish our practice. And we'll do pulling down the heavens. You can stay seated. I'll stand just to show you. So you inhale, palms facing the earth, and then the other half, palms facing heaven. As you exhale, palm over palm, and smooth down the central channel. And seal the chi down in that lower dantian. Inhale, earth. Inhale, heaven. Smooth down the center. And seal the chi. One more time. And seal the chi. Okay, rub the palms. Wash the face. Wake up your senses. Comb back the hair. Make sure no energy gets stuck in your head. Stroke down the beard. And then just stomp out those feet. I don't want to go back to school. I just want to meditate all day. And you are done. All right. Well, boy, that was a good long practice, wasn't it? So before we go on our break, let's do a little Q&A on that. And then we'll take our break. And then we'll get into some theoretical material. So how was that practice? Does anybody want to pop on or drop in the chat box comments, questions, insights? What say you?
I'll pop in for a second and ask a quick question. So yeah, I do feel there was a lot of sludge and kind of gunk coming up and out through my throat with a lot of these, and with the soreness, and even expectorated some old phlegm.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
It's great. I'm just wondering, if obviously I'm purging something, so extra important to hydrate, tools to use if, sore throat doesn't go away, or if things come up that don't release, I guess is my question.
Yeah, they'll release. They'll release. 2 reasons: because you're an acupuncturist, also because you have the easier, nicer 6 healing sounds, and like you personally, like you have the old man and tide pool exercise, you have all of these tools, so they'll release. I won't worry about it. And if they don't, text me.
Thank you.
Yeah, I hope that was a satisfactory answer for you. That's my real answer. Okay, what else? Questions? Go ahead, James.
My sinus is cleared again.
Yeah, good. Always nice.
Just like they did the other week. It was an incredible amount of heat.
Yeah.
There for a while, and then it all soothed out, and I just completely lost the room.
Yeah.
That I'm sitting in. I was not here anymore.
Is that a nice vacation?
Yes. It was very cool. It was very cool.
Awesome.
I like the sinuses.
Yeah, yeah, that's quite nice.
Really clears, and it's like it's very bizarre, but
Hmm.
nice. A nice bizarre.
Beautiful, love it. Thank you. Yeah, and Brian's shared in the chat box the image of Neo in the Matrix, where this is the one I always have with Six is Thick. Is he like? I think he just blows. Sorry, spoiler alert, but you should have seen the Matrix by now. Come on, it's been 20 years. But he like, I think he like jumps into an agent, and blows him up, and then he takes this big breath, and he's like, and the whole room goes. Is that the one you're thinking of? That's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah. So Six is Thick. If you can't figure out what that feels like, watch The Matrix, and you're good to go. Okay. Cool. What else? Amanda?
I was just wondering why there's only 4 protectors instead of 5 for all the elements.
Yeah, because the spleen is the earth element that comes up from below, and so that's you in the center.
Oh, I see. Okay, great. Thank you.
Welcome. What else? Questions, comments? Miko?
I had an interesting experience with the animals where one of them was like kind of like smaller and weaker than the others, and I have a good idea of why that might be for me personally, but I just wanted to see what you had to say about that.
Yeah, that is a thing. In ancient times, they would actually use this as a form of self-diagnosis. So, yeah, so you work on the organ or the really like the virtue energy associated with that organ, and see if your aminal changes. Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, Deborah Dove.
Yeah, I really loved the purging part. I feel like I can do that till the election, nonstop. Um, but I'm curious about the sounds, because when you were making the sounds, my tendency was to want to harmonize. And then I noticed that when I was doing it myself, I went to this deep kind of Tibetan monk, not so pretty kind of a sound thing. And then I know that sometimes there's the subaudible sounds. So when do you go to each?
Yeah, all of that. So in this one, I did try to shut up a few times so that you all could do your own sound, but that's the most important part. This is not a group collaboration exercise. There's time for that. Absolutely, super fun. This is not that time. So yeah, so really the trick is, did a lot of folks find that when you put your hand on the organ, you could get the thing to vibrate in your body? That's what you want. That's what you want. And it is kind of subtle. So if you're finding that you have to do like really guttural tones or like to make it vibrate, that's actually not the thing. That will give you a sore throat and may re-traumatize you, rather than bringing trauma up and out. So it's not to be like I'm feeling it vibrate. I don't think any of you were doing that, but just in case, it's meant to be like, oh, that's my throat chakra. Okay, oh, where's my heart? Oh. And like I just demonstrated to myself, sometimes getting the vibration is much more inner, like intention, or space holding, than it is about what the tone is even. So that's what you got to find is what makes the tissues resonate, and it's moderately subtle. One other point on that, yeah, scream therapy is a whole different thing altogether. That's right, Janelle. Is for sometimes the singers we have a couple of singers on here. Sometimes the singers have a harder time with this because they've been trained to direct sound out, and so that's, you have to find like, it's like, I could sing out here to you, and nothing's really going on in that inner heart. I mean, something's going on, but the masters, the Pythagorean bardic masters, light up both at the same time. But that first learn to do one at a time, right? So yeah. Okay, then
Yeah,
let's go for it.
I noticed that it wasn't like a hurting or an angry, but it was like a very deep, except for the heart.
Yeah,
It,
that seems fine to me.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and that kind of goes, Maureen's question, is it harmful if you do the sound inaccurately? No, with those, like don't hurt your throat, but play and good things will happen. Play and
Right.
good things will happen. The only thing with the sounds, just since we're doing these audible sounds, they actually move the energy quite strongly. These are kind of meant to they're meant for beginners actually, because you can hear them, right? And so you can feel vibration, and then later you do the whispered sounds and you use your intention to direct it. But because these don't require a lot of intention, the sound will move your energy very strongly, I find. So just so you know it, the straight tone, we use usually to vibrate an organ or pull energy out. The descending tone we use to bring energy down, like when we do those sighs. Ah. And then there's also ascending tones, which would bring energy up. So that's the only example that I would give you where that might be problematic, is if you had like headaches or something, or you were like a veteran spiritual bypasser and gave yourself like mania episodes, and then you did a lot of, you're like, I just feel so good to go up. Yeah, it feels good because that's your habit, but it's not good for you. And then I'll give you a few other contraindications on these sounds in a minute, but I think that answers that question. Let me do chat boxes, and then I think I see Janelle over there in a second. Organs wanted specific pitches, but also specific sorts of tone. Like what sort of tone? Put that in the chat box if you don't mind. Yeah, and it is according to your range. So I noticed a couple, like my heart had a high tone and a low tone that would both vibrate it. So you find what vibrates it in your range. Yeah, and sometimes Kristen says, I found my tones all needed to be much deeper to feel the vibration. Sometimes that can be because we need to drop into a deeper relaxation. So, we just started the day. I only gave you this much little shakies to get us started. But really, for those of you who know the Nagel posture, who know like progressive relaxation stuff, drop into that state and then try the tone, and you'll probably feel things like you're turning yourself into a Tibetan singing bowl. And then that's when you're going to get the most vibration. So play with it, have a lot of fun with it, and see what happens there. Okay. Oh no, he's talking about advanced music therapy tone stuff. Yeah, just a tone. I don't know about timbres and sinusoids and stuff like that. You got to make the organs vibrate. If we were here in person, I would make you do it, and then I would say no, 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 yes. That's the old. It's like, okay, sing for me, and sing for me. I'm the phantom of the qigong school, and but what'll often happen is that people will do it like from their throat. They'll be like shang, like no. Try putting your rib cage down for a second. Okay. Shang. Okay, now you got it to your collarbones. Great. Okay. Shang. Okay, now you mess it up. Shang. That one. And you can feel when you get it to come from vibrating these organs. So for now, you just got to play with it and do your own hands-on assessment. Okay, then do you descend each time or just to find your tone? Yeah, so that's just to find the tone. It's just, there it was, and then once you've got that pitch, we use a straight tone for these exercises. Just working my way through the chat box here, and then we'll go back to face-to-face. Yes, green dragon wood on the left side because the sage faces south. That is correct. So east is on your left, and whatchamacallit, west is on your right in that classical Chinese stuff. More on that in our next workshop on advanced Taoist alchemy. Advertisement, you guys, advertisement. Okay, then Janelle, your hand is up. Tell me.
Oh yeah, I forgot. So after the purge thing, I was completely exhausted. like physically, I just felt like, oh my gosh, I feel like I just ran 6 miles. And it was just, I felt really weighted and really heavy. And I was like, hey, that's kind of cool. Like, I mean, I didn't have that like sense of like, oh, I've released all this stuff and I feel so light and airy now. It was like, oh no, that was freaking exhausting. Holy crap.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. That was an interesting thing to notice, that I had expected one thing and then something completely different happened. And during that whole purge process, that whole visualization was really interesting. As I pulled stuff out and the like little portal thing opened, it changed color. It was like a witch over a cauldron. You know, you pull this stuff out and you slam it in there, and it was like poof, and it would change colors, and it was really, I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. So that was really cool. I totally dug that part.
Somebody's ready for Halloween.
Woohoo!
Yeah, love it. Yeah, so this is a great chance for me to tell you indications and contraindications for these guys. And then we'll do a few more questions and then we'll have a break. So yeah, these are power. Oh, and this also will answer, I think, Sonia's question, like when do you do the louder tones like these? When do you do whispering tones, etc.? So like I said before, these particular sounds, the gong, the zheng, the guo that we're doing today, and I will put some notes in for you guys on those. Not today though. They come from medical Qigong for oncology. So they're used in medical Qigong theory, and don't go around blaming victims after this class because of what I'm about to tell you. But in medical Qigong, a lot of the time tumor formation is associated with repressed emotions, right? And so they go in and the energy body goes like this, and then the physical body follows, okay? There are other causes like radiation and chemical exposure. So don't go around, hey, remember when you told me you had breast cancer? Well, that's your, don't do that. Jeez, we're training in empathy. Stay for the rest of the class. You'll learn why not to do that. Come on. But sometimes if somebody says like, hey, can Qigong do anything for my breast cancer? You can go like, well, it might be related to these repressed emotions. Do these nifty sounds and check it out. That's when you would say it. Might be. Let's find out. Want to do some sounds? Okay. So, so that's these sounds' original use. And then my medical Qigong teacher, Dr. Johnson, said we also use them for very strong emotional purgation of any type. But you want to think about like the healing sounds. We did them briefly in our animals. We did for the heart, for the kidneys. These are like sounds that are associated with the elements. The water, the spring breeze, the metal of rasping your sword against its whetstone. You know, he says those are like aspirin, or like, you know, feverfew, or depending on how much of a hippie you are. If you don't take aspirin, but you only take feverfew, willow bark. And then these deeper sounds are like chemotherapy and antibiotics and stuff, right? So so we're using them today for what we're going to talk about after the break. You've paid your dues. You did the whole hour practice that I thought was only going to take us a half hour, because that's how long it took me yesterday to do it. So now you get to find out why after the break. But I'll tell you, those sounds are for strong purgation. So emotional purgation, or in the acupuncture clinic, if you have clients who are interested in medical Qigong prescriptions, you already have to have your, know how to diagnose and stuff. But like the guo sound would be for liver fire, not for liver stagnation, for like heavy liver stagnation and giving rise to fire. You would do that guo sound. If they had migraines, you could do a descending guo sound, and you purging that fire very strongly from the body. The U sound we use for kidney stones, for ovarian cysts, for prostate cancer. Very strong breaking up of stagnation. Okay, so that's what their indications are, and what we're using, why we're using them today. Oh, I was going to tell you that at the break, but I'll tell you quickly now, is to get to a repressed emotional material quick, to get to it quick. So you use these strong sounds, and it gets in there. Okay, but then that will tell you of the contraindications, that if your kidney meridian is weak, according to Chinese medicine, don't do too many of those U sounds, because you don't disperse what's already weak. That makes sense, right? If you go to your acupuncturist and they always say you're spleen deficient, then for gosh sakes, only do 5 gongs. No more gongs for you, because it's going to make you tired. And in this session, the opposite of that is the breathing in colored light. The breathing in colored light is the opposite. And so that's why these are paired, so that you don't just drain the system and then like, what Janelle experienced, I'm not saying this is what you experienced, but it's like what happens often in the clinic, where we'll do a purging treatment and then the person will call and be like, I was exhausted for 3 days. And often that's because tension was the only thing holding them up anymore, right? Like, and so you purge the tension and they're like, oh. So be careful with releasing. Be careful with going and getting a good acupuncture or doing your qigong, because you'll find out how colonialized you've been or something. You're like, we can make this soil bring forth one more crop. God dang it, just put in some chemicals. I'm dealing with this with quitting caffeine right now, and I notice what I've done to myself through my false aspirations, my false cup of ambition, or 3 every day. So yeah, and that's not great for your qigong. Once you start running more energy, it really gets in the way. So I gotta walk it back down. But anyway, that'll happen is, it strongly purges off that tension and then the system collapses. But what we want to do with the colored light meditation is then bolster yourself with a real source of energy, such as, have y'all ever noticed how if a little puppy is in danger, you ain't tired, right? Like you go help that puppy, right? None of you are like, I don't know, maybe it'll get itself out of the barbed wire fence on its own. No, right? It's instant energy. It's instant energy. And this is just a quick example, but like also if you ever had a crush on someone, you were tired at work that afternoon, but you're up till 4 a.m. like smooching, right? Or spying on them on Facebook or whatever, looking at their OK Tender profiles. These intrinsic energies in the body are sources of energy. And so that's what we want to do, is we bring in like honor. Like, what's your sense of honor that you're bringing to the situation? And you light that up and the body's like, oh, wait, that's right. I was going to text people about voting rights. Got it. Or, I mean, this is an apolitical class, so you might have been texting people about how they don't actually have any voting rights. So free yourself from the illusion. But whatever it was, but it's your honor. It's your sense of honor coming from you, right? The kidneys, the wisdom, like what is the essence, the concentrated essence of things that you feel? And when you get to that, the system like catalyzes. So that's what we're doing when we bring in that light. Okay, and then the last piece is kind of to answer Sonia's question. We talked about those regular sounds, the shu, and you can do those with audible tones as well. Shu, ha. The S sound doesn't do it. It's always whispering in whatever that snake language is, no matter what you do. But you can do those audible, but those are more the aspirin. These are more chemo, antibiotic, etc. And then audible tends to work the tissues more, the gross level. So your ego, your physical tissues, the sub-audible, whispered sounds tends to work the chi level and like your subconscious mind kind of vibes. And then the silent sounds, which we haven't really gone over, where you resonate them internally, works on the Shen level, the spirit and your like paraconscious mind. So I think I just gave you all the indications for those, I hope. Whew. Okay. White willow bark is the same thing as aspirin, except for aspirin is like refined and concentrated. So you got to take a bunch of bitter white willow bark to get the same effect as one ibuprofen. Or I don't think it's the same as ibuprofen, but aspirin. Let's stick to consistency here. Okay, yeah, and sound for the reproductive organs is that kidney one. So for that question. What was the subtle indication? That's for the chi body. For the whispered sound. The whispered sound is the subtle realm. All right, so we did our morning practice, and now you'll have this. I hope my assistant will excerpt this out and make a little practice set for you. But the last thing to say, because we're really just chewing through the time, my most precious commodity, is it doesn't have to take that long. So your 1 through 10 meditation, when I do it, it goes, there we go. 1 is fun, 2 is shoe, 3 is tree, 4 is core, 5 alive, 6 is thick, 7 is heaven, 8 is gay, 9 is shine. Okay, so that, and you're done. But that's the result of having done those meditations. So it's creating like a hypnotic trigger or a hypnotic anchor, right? That's what they call it. So you go, 1 is fun, and the mind goes, oh yeah, got it, cool, do it, etc. So until that time, meditate on them for as long as it takes. Well, you guys and gals and non-binary folks, sorry, some people think guys is a gendered term, but I always say it as G-U-I-S-E. Well, you masked ones. Okay, let's take a break. We are going to take how about 10 minutes? Is that okay for you, or do you need 15? Would you prefer 5? What do you say? 10 minutes? Excellent. Too short for some, too long for others. That's going to be perfect. So my clock says 12:14. Please come back at 12:24 Pacific Standard Time, and I will see you then. Unpaused. Okay, we are back. So if you had glanced at our schedule, then we are in some discussion time. So we are in some discussion time, and that's what we'll do until what time? 1:30. It is now almost 12:30. We've got an hour for this discussion. And so let us get right to it. So the first one is this vocab word that was in that schedule notes, which says cognitive overlay. Cognitive overlay, and I'll put that in the chat box for you. Cognitive overlay. It rhymes with flavor flav, I think, something like that. So just for fun, for me to be a little bit Socratic, what do you think that means? Cognitive overlay. I'm using this ancient teacher pedagogy I learned for 3rd graders that work great with adults too. What do you think that's going to mean? Cognitive overlay in intuitive development. Cognitive overlay.
Can I take a guess?
Yeah.
Is it kind of just like how your previous experiences form how you perceive things?
Ooh, okay, that's a good guess. I like it. And Heather Lee in the chat says mind projections. Mind projections. Perceptual lenses. Ooh, I love that. I'm going to be giving a talk at my church tomorrow on perceptual lenses and integral theory. Advertisement, just in case you want to come. It'll be on Zoom. Noticing our conditioned bias. Mental descriptors of something ethereal or not-ish. Yeah, cool. So in this case, this is great. I'm glad we did this Socratic. That was fun. In this case, this is a term that was coined by people who were cultivating the practice of remote viewing. Remote viewing, which is, and specifically the practice of coordinate remote viewing, which is actually a practice that the U.S. military developed under the terms of like psychic spies. Did you ever hear of this? Like occasionally, like something leaked, and then the CIA actually like unclassified a whole bunch of stuff. They were like, yeah, we were trained in astral projection and talking to the UFOs, and we've been doing that for a while. But it was 2020, so that news didn't get any headlines except for like 2 conspiracy homies on Facebook or something. So. Anyway, coordinate remote viewing. So what they would do, and we'll do an exercise from this repertoire later, which is really fun, and a lot of folks who, Maria and I once went to a study being done by the Institute of Noetic Sciences, and they recruited us because we were a couple and also meditators. And these folks I won't go into the whole research, I could go on and on about it. but these folks tend to get more hits when they test for like subtle interconnectedness stuff. If you have people that already meditate and who are already connected, they tend to show more like psychicness than people who aren't those things. So they try to recruit for these studies. They try to like stack the deck in their favor a little bit. Anyway, and they had us do an exercise beforehand to get us really into this like remote viewing kind of mindset. Anyway, in coordinate remote viewing, what they would do is they would ascribe a set of coordinates, like you have 8.12 is your target. And then they would have the people like sit in these special nifty comfy chairs that they developed for them, and you know, soundscapes or whatever. Everybody had their own individual thing, go into this relaxed state. And then they would give themselves the cue of like, okay, view 8.12. What impressions do I get about this target? And then most people, they would sketch, because that tends to bypass the verbal mind and go right into like where intuitive perception tends to come from, which is sensations and imagery. And so they would have them sketch, and they go like, okay, this looks like a round, oh, a cylinder. Okay, there's a cylinder here, and then something boxy over here, you know, and then later, so it's kind of like what a double blind experiment in science is. Like the experimenter knows what 8.12, or no, that would be single blind. Neither the experimenter nor the viewer know what 8.12 means, but you can check later like, oh, this was where we think the Soviets are building a nuclear weapons facility. And they could check and go like, oh wow, this cylinder here could be this part of the weapons facility, and this cube over here could be this part of it. So they would have the viewers, you know, gain these impressions, and then sketch their impressions, or sometimes jot down like, ooh, this feels electric in this area, or this, you know, I get a green impression, you know. And then they found later that they needed to have a particular column on the side. It worked really well to have a column on the side where they could write down cognitive overlay. And that's things like, I think this is a carousel, or the Lincoln Monument, or what, and these are some of the targets that they would use. And what they would notice is sometimes those guesses would be correct, and other times those would be places where the person's mind, our minds like look for answers, right? Doesn't it feel good when you move from confusion to knowing what's going on? Have you ever had this experience? Like, oh, I was so confused. And then like, oh, but your friend's like, no, it's actually this. And you're like, oh, geez, that's great. Like when in Northern California for a while, we had all this terrible, terrible smoke a minute ago. And then a bunch of folks were having these awful panic attacks. And then somebody told them like, oh yeah, your body's wired like genetically that when you smell smoke to freak out and want to run away. And then all of those people just went, oh, I don't necessarily need to go see a psychiatrist. I'll just close the windows and wait for the smoke to pass. And like, so their heart was still palpitating, right? But they didn't have to freak out. They knew why. They knew what was going on. And this brings a lot of relief. Our minds are always doing this. We want to know what is what. And in this context of remote viewing, they decided, oh, if you make a space for that, then you can get it out of the way. And having done some of this kind of training, what you'll notice is like, you're like, oh, this is green. Oh, I think it's the ocean. I think it's the ocean. And you have to be able to go like, okay, good. Put that in the cognitive overlay file. I think it's the ocean. Now come back to the images and the sensations. And that's where you're getting most of the intuitive information. Does that kind of make sense in terms of just defining the term? You know, I didn't do the why should you care part yet. So if you're wondering where that is, I didn't do it yet. But that's just defining the term. So it's like you're getting intuitive impressions, and then your mind tries to make a story about it, a coherent narrative about it. This is kind of like, I was just thinking for my talk tomorrow, actually, you know, it's like little baby children are magical thinkers. You know, like the way their minds work, and this is actually deep in all of us, is like, I cried, and then your crying mystically makes the goddess appear with milk, right? That's how their mind works. And then until you're 2, like or 3, you don't quite learn that like you don't mystically control the universe. There's also physics. Like it takes a number of times of banging your head on stuff to realize you're not the boss of the universe. Eventually you realize it. Anyway, one of the problems with that is that if the goddess doesn't appear when you cry, magical thinking doesn't go away. We ingrain these beliefs that like, oh, I was deprived because I deserved it, or like I did something, like like that feeling of I'm the center of the universe is still active for that period of our development. We create a story that makes it make sense somehow, right? The story feels terrible, like, oh, you're an undeserving thing, you're impure, that's why mommy didn't hold you at night. I'm sorry, content warning. You're supposed to do those first. I always go late, but then the mind goes, oh, but I know why. And that pain of thinking you're a piece of trash is somehow preferable to the pain of like, for some reason, we don't know why some babies are deprived and other babies aren't. And like the mind latches onto these narratives to explain the world because narratives bring us comfort. Is that familiar information to y'all? So in attachment therapy, one of the cool things is that a way you can repair that trauma, they're still researching it. I don't know if you can repair it 100% but people have some pretty good results. And they say one of the ways you can do that is creating a new coherent narrative. And so the people who seem to thrive the most go, oh yeah, I was deprived so that I could go through the healing process and then help others to make sure that doesn't happen to anybody else. And when they take that as like their life mission, the power of the mind to say, well, that's my narrative, that's the way it was, that's the way it is and shall be, like it reframes all of the sensations in the body, all of these memories and stuff like that, to where there's something bearable or even empowering. The same impressions that once were disempowering can become empowering through the myth, through the bardic tale that you tell yourself. This is part of why the old druids were both the magi, the mystics of their town, and also the ones who kept all the stories, because they figured out, oh, you know, stories are what make our world. Stories are what make our world. So anyway, in training one's intuition, narratives can help and can hurt. They can help and can hurt. But all we want to do, the good news is like you don't have to be anti-narrative, right? Well, good news, because you can't really get rid of them. Like, as far as I know, like those don't just go away. You can, some people do take enough ketamine to like stop the default mode network from telling you stories. I'm not recommending that, by the way. Ask your psychiatrist if that's right for you. But you know, like you could do that, or like deep electroshock therapy in the brain sometimes can shut it off and you can stop. But generally, the narratives are going to be there. Our trick is to learn to go, oh look, cognitive overlay. Oh look, there's my narrative. There's the filter through which I'm perceiving this information. Okay, so our stories get stuck in the dampness, yeah. And in Chinese medicine, this damp is this subtle climate in the body. And sometimes also narratives can create dampness. According to Qigong, it's like you mire yourself in a particular story, and then the tissues follow suit and they create a bog within. So yeah, it's reciprocal in that way, reciprocal causation. So this is one of the things that we are going to be working on through the practices I'm going to recommend to you now. We're not going to be doing these practices in class because they're like journaling practices, contemplative practices to take time with on your own. But I am going to introduce them to you and give you the pep talk and the why, which is what we can make best use of this time together for. So, cognitive biases, narratives, cognitive overlay can get in the way of our intuitive process. So to finish that section, again, my medical Qigong teacher, Dr. Johnson, their system has a lot of techniques about developing psychic faculties and higher sense perceptions and stuff like that. And he warns that at a certain point in the training, you ought to have a therapist, as well as you got to know all these journaling practices that we do. You might need a hypnotherapist and an acupuncture and an hypno ear addiction specialist. I don't know who you're going to need. And to do all these qigong purging stuff. And he says, why? Well, because if you don't do that work and you're developing your subtle perceptions, he says, well, that's where you get delusional psychosis. It's like, oh, geez, I didn't know you were going to go. That's pretty strong. We were just happily filling our lungs and you had to go delusional psychosis on me, bro. What's up with that? He also doesn't do content warnings very well. Sorry. But what this means is a phenomena that often happens where, so like an example might be, if you've got what we say like abandonment trauma, right? Like you've got an abandonment narrative lodged in there. Do you know anybody who has one of these? They're so hot right now. They're really popular. They've been handing those out for ages. Yeah. So abandonment narrative. And let's say that person is in a relationship with some, like an intimate relationship or a best friend. And they're also somewhat like psychic or intuitive. Do we know anybody like this? Abandonment trauma, pretty intuitive, in a relationship. Okay. Now, this partner over here cannot be thinking about leaving them at all, but be having a bad day where they really need to be left the F word alone. What do you think this psychic person is going to imagine when they feel those vibes coming off of this partner? They're going to feel, oh God, they're pulling away, right? Because their energy body will literally, according to our belief system, will pull away. And then whatever the narrative of abandonment is, it'll first say, oh shit, I'm being abandoned, right? And then, like in the chat box, you know, Christian says, like, what did I do wrong, right? So if that's your abandonment narrative, then it's like, what did I do wrong? Or my narrative is not one of abandonment. It's get me the hell out of here. So when I feel a partner pull away, I go, what have they done wrong for their entire life? I'm out, right? And the whole like shitstorm just dominoes itself right through there. Now, yeah, you might feel that distrust come up. I'm unlovable is another, you know, these are the cascade effect. And they might have just wanted to read their novel. Like, okay, Maria, if you're listening, November 11th, my favorite author's putting out a new book in the series. And I know he's gonna like drop some secrets about the whole world building. Oh, it's gonna be great. So when I'm like, putting off go away vibes when you come to like snuggle me, it's because it's just the book, right? And thank God my partner has had medical qigong training like in the same school as me, because we still mess up, of course. I'm about to say of course again. Of course we still mess up, but the trick is noting the cognitive overlay. There's that word again. Now you're maybe seeing why we're talking about it. And trying to disentangle, like, what did I feel versus what am I telling myself? What did I feel versus what am I telling myself? And so this is a little mantra that I want to suggest. You may have heard it from me before, but it is, what did I feel versus telling myself. Yeah. Oh, I froze. Let me check and get on the right internet here. If I go offline for a second, it's because I'm switching internets. Okay. Am I back? You're frozen, but I think that I hope we'll be back soon. I can hear myself on the housemate's computer. Oh, there you are. Hi. Oh, we're back. Hello. Okay, good. So have any of you ever experienced this in yourself? Like, we've all got this stuff and we're all sometimes intuitive, even if you don't identify as that. But like, you're like, huh, and then you freaked out. And then 3 days later, when you all finally calm down, or 3 years or 3 lifetimes later, like, you came back and you're like, weren't you like about to leave me? And they're like, no, I was thinking about going to the store to make you dinner. And you're like, what? What? So yeah, self-fulfilling prophecies. Absolutely, self-fulfilling prophecies. So yeah, cool. So knowing that cognitive overlay is a thing is our first lesson. And that mantra you're going to use is, what did I feel? And in this case, later we'll do feel with nonviolent communication rules, which means like emotions. What are my emotions? But in this case, we're going to use this as like, what did I sense? So you might, if you're training your NVC mind to use feelings to mean emotions, you might say, what did I sense, right? And so sensing, in sensation, it might be, I sensed that they were further away from me than I wanted them to be, right? That's a sensation that we can have. I sensed coldness. I sensed flatness. I believed there was subtle aggression coming from them, you know, like, well, you believed that. What did you sense? Well, I sense like a prickliness. Okay, cool. And then what did you tell yourself? Oh, I told myself that prickliness meant that when yesterday I said this, they took that the wrong way and they developed a whole story about me, blah, 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 blah. Well, did you ask them? Well, no, I sensed it. And then I went off to the races, right? So we want to learn to disrupt going off to the races. And this is the cool thing. There's a whole, like, we could do this as a week-long workshop, but we won't. I'm going to rein myself in, so I don't go off to the races. But there's a whole thing. Some people learn to distrust their intuition because of this problem, right? Some people go like, oh man, I've been down that road so many times, and they shut down intuitive, subtle perceptual ability. Other people just learn to distrust other people all of the time. And they like centralize, like, no, I'm sovereign, my intuition, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, then why don't you have any friends anymore? Like, why can't you keep any friends? So we might want to learn where's the middle ground. And the middle ground is that your intuition is right sometimes. Your stories are right sometimes. And when we can disambiguate whose domain is what, then we can actually start to use them for their strengths. Sound cool? It's gonna be potent. Okay, so then the other half, while we're in this morning, and then I'll get into your practices. So that's one reason why we're doing these purgators. Purgate your lungs, purgate your liver, purgate your kidneys, etc. You don't need me to do that sound 2 more times. You know what it sounds like. But I did like saying purgate and acting it out. It's fun for me. Sound therapy for sure. So one of the reasons we're doing that is because those sounds are meant to bring up old emotional material. Like, you almost don't even have to know, like, oh, this is about sadness and transmuting it to integrity. Like, you could just do the sounds and it would vibrate your inner body. This is what they say in medical Qigong theory, but I've given these to enough clients and done enough stuff on faith myself and had it work that I'm like, no, they vibrate your subtle body, they clear your karma. Just that's what's happening. I feel confident to say that. Try it out there. So you just do this, shang, shang, and then you'll either like have a dream. Like I was doing some of these transformational practices the other night, and in my vision space in the practice, like I was gifted this gift of healthy aggression, right? And it was like placed into my aura, and I was like, oh, cool. And then that night I had a dream that I had made the stupid mistake of like agreeing to fight mixed martial arts fighters in this championship tournament. And I didn't have a mouth guard. And like, I'd been going through these body issues, so I haven't been working out very hard. And I'm like, what have I done to myself? What the? So it was very rich. My transformational practice brought up these inner like, oh, look, yeah, here you go. Here's the crux of your issue, you know, and I like unfolded that. So same thing with these sounds. You'll be doing them, and then sometimes you'll have a dream that brings you an insight. Other times you'll be doing the practice and your mind will go, bing. You're like, oh man, I haven't thought about that since I was 13. What? Amazing. Other times you'll just get really mad at a housemate and it'll precipitate an internal crisis. And then you'll know you have to heal because you're in the midst of an internal crisis. So, so that's the first reason for these exercises. Does that start to make sense of like why we're what's up with these sounds? Why are you giving us cancer sounds, bro? I thought this was a communication class. Yeah, it is. But we got to clear you're never going to clear all cognitive overlay, I believe, but we got to clear the attachment to our cognitive overlay. Like it's there because it's helping keep us a sense of safety, right? It's keeping us miserable in a lot of ways, but it's also helping keep us a sense of safety. So this is part of clear it out, clear it out. The 1 through 10 is like filling you with divine light in the Qigong. And the other thing with that divine light stuff is that it pushes out anything that's not it. So we might as well actively help the process, right? With all of these purging exercises. Okay, the second aspect is...
I'm sorry, can I ask a quick question about the 1 through 10?
Yeah, go for it.
We left off at 9 is shine, right?
And then 10 is begin.
Okay, so
And that
that's
just
the
means start
invocation.
doing whatever practice you're going to do.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
Question. Good question. Okay, so the other half is going to be called the ping pong ball theory. The ping pong ball theory. And this also comes from, a lot of this information in the way I'm teaching it today comes from my medical Qigong teacher, Dr. Johnson, because he just like really compartmentalized it in a great way for learning it. So this comes from his Sifu, and you know, he tells this story, you know, he was a karate guy and then he found this kung fu teacher and he thought he was a badass, but his kung fu teacher could beat him up all the time. And he's like, but wait, I can't even see where your hands are coming from. And his kung fu teacher would be like, well, yeah, that's because you've got a block in your throat chakra because your dad always yelled at you. And so you shut down your own communication. So I insert my hand right through your throat chakra and you can't see it because you've walled that part out of your awareness. And then I poke you in the eye. It's like, wait, what? And that was the beginning of his medical Qigong education. So a lot of this comes from that, and you really can use this in your martial arts training. Like this is stuff that a lot of, you know, to be totally practical about it, right? You know, it's like a lot of fighters know if you can get in the guy's head emotionally, if you can mess her up and make her mad, she's not going to be able to fight as well, right? Because she's triggered, and our perceptual field goes like this when we're triggered. We want our perceptual field to go like this. So all this like mystical Shaolin martial arts, the trick they learned was how to stay in a flow state while someone's trying to hurt you. We're going to do more than that today, but that's where a lot of these techniques comes from. So Sifu's Sifu said, oh, well, you want to develop these higher sense perceptions? Yeah. Well, you got to get rid of the ping pong balls. What? So he said, imagine your body is like an empty shell and it's full of ping pong balls. Ping pong balls? Just imagine, visualize them as ping pong balls. And those ping pong balls are every unhealed emotional constriction, every unhealed emotional constriction. And they're taking up the room that this like divine light, and please insert your own terms, like I'll just use like divine light and Taoist terminology and stuff, but like whatever works for you. This is not a religious class so much. It's about imagery that seems to work cross-culturally. So I'm just going to tell it to you without many more disclaimers. But so where divine light is supposed to be, you got ping pong balls instead, taking up space. And that divine light is what would be powering these virtues, this honor, this generosity, this peaceful compassion. Like, have you ever noticed, like, it's a closed loop. It's really hard to feel peaceful and enraged at the same time, right? Maybe somebody can do it, but I don't think that's actually healthy. You know, like you've only got enough energy to do one at a time. In your brain, you can only pump blood to the limbic system or the neocortex, really. Like they don't work at the same time. You're either fight, flight, or freeze, or you're empathically creating and collaborating. Like they don't work at the same time. So similarly, he said, the amount of space taken up or energy used up by these ping pong balls, because it takes energy to keep our stories and narratives repressed, right? Like if I had to feel every day that one time when I was 11 and the other boys said this to me, and I made a holy vow for the rest of my life that I would never be that vulnerable again. I don't know if you have any stories like that, but I've got a couple of them. And the best, greatest hits album in there. Like if I had to feel that every day, I'd be a wreck. Like I wouldn't be able to make a living. I wouldn't be able to make dinner for my housemates. And so what do? We stuff it, right? Some of you are frozen. Can you still hear me? Let me know. Okay, cool. Good, good. All right, some of you aren't frozen. Excellent. So what happens is then you've got energy tied up, right? So you're running, you know, like how your computer, if you had a Dell or something and once upon a time and it got viruses in it, and then those sort of run themselves and consume energy from your computer. And so you're like, why is the fan always on my computer? Like, what is it? Just all day. And you're like, why are you so hot, babe? Like calm down. It's like, no, I gotta feed the viruses. They're running. They gotta look spyware into all your stuff and see if there's any credit card numbers in there. So your old repressed stories are, you're actively being sad in there, according to this theory, right? You're like, oh, the boys, they said this to me when I was 11. And then you can't feel that all day, and it doesn't go away. And so you take another bunch of energy and you go, and so it's going, you're like, no, actually, I'm fine. And so all of this chi that you would be using for your development, for your happiness, for your love life, for your culinary skills, for your music making, like all of these like beautiful dreams of the future, you are sending to the past and then making like a illusion to put over it that says, no, we're not sending that to the past. No, we're here. I'm here now. Yes, I'm fine. I'm a grown-up. I'm a man just like daddy thought I should be. Really, I am. And so imagine like what you could do with that energy. Imagine what you could do with that energy. According to this Taoist theory, they say if you liberated that, that would all cycle in to feed your subtle perceptual abilities. So in explaining this morning's practice and then what we're about to introduce you to, there's two aspects of our intuition that we're using this purgation. The morning is purging and the afternoon is cultivating. It's going to work really good. But we're using this purgation to, one, get us unstuck from our cognitive overlay, right? And two, actually go in and free up energy that then gets cycled into developing our drive, our compassion, and perhaps advancing, these subtle perceptual abilities. So we're trying to create more free energy, and then they go hand in hand, right? As the energy comes up and you're like, whoa, I'm seeing all of this, like I can feel my friends' emotions when they're talking to me. Like this happens as you do a little yoga or qigong. You know, you can't just go out for a casual drink anymore because your friend will start talking and you're like, oh, ah, whoo, ay, right? Because your energy comes up. But there's a healthy, a very nice looking but here, which is when you clear out those triggers, then it doesn't jab you in the same way, right? They start talking and you're like, whoa, they've got an ancient well of grief underneath that. And instead of feeling like totally distressed because it's resonating your ancient well of grief, you're aware that there's an ancient well of grief in you. And so instead of reacting, your mind goes, wow, I wonder how I could hold myself while we're out for a drink that would bring ease to them. And then you just do that instead of having to go like, oh God, I gotta fix it. Or, oh fuck, they're always pouring their energies on me. I gotta get away. Or whatever we do. Those are some of my favorites. You could, because you've declogged, you could go like, oh wow, I can be here with this. And even notice like, oh wow, that's bringing up all of my attachment trauma. And I can still be, because you're not hooked to it because you did all the purging exercises. You got out some of those ping pong balls. Okay, let's see. Yeah, a 9-year-old has been using the ping pong balls to explain his emotions. He's a Taoist incarnate dude, this guy. Sometimes the ping pong balls are flying around out of a volcano. Oh, this is great. This is genius. This Sherfu approves of this message of ping pong balls. Okay, so any questions, comments on that before I give you these 2 practices? We'll have 15 minutes for each. How perfect, and then you get to have a lunch. So anything you want to report on that? Jim, what do you say?
Unmute. There we go. Basically, you described the basis of modern therapy.
Good.
We do that every day for 8 hours a day in our job. Good job. Way to go.
Sweet. I was actually having this conversation with Maria over coffee this morning. I still get a little coffee, so I'm having my morning coffee, and we were talking about what an epic music therapist she is, and like how cool it was that she got to go to college for that before she went to school for medical qigong. I was like, like trying to heap praise on my girlfriend because I want her to like me and stuff. And then I was like, and then there's me. I'm epic, but I looked at college and I was like, F you, I'm a druid. And so thanks for confirming me that just by being a druid, you can actually import all the same info.
I can name modern therapies that correlate with all of this.
So good.
Modern
It's so good.
therapeutic practices developed in the last 40 years who stole this stuff.
Yeah.
They basically stolen it.
Yeah. And the good news is, things that work are universal.
Yes.
If it works, you'll find them everywhere. We see
Yeah.
that in the martial arts, like there's kicks, punches, grappling, throwing. Why? Because it works. So let's see what else. So important to have these awarenesses, and so much easier said than done. Yeah, so the easier said than done, and this goes back to what a lot of psychotherapy models don't have until the last couple decades, is this somatic energy resonance component, right? So the easier said than done part is doing the Qigong every day. This is our secret weapon. So that part's cool, because otherwise the theories do, it's kind of like luck if you get enlightened enough so that you can do the theory in your practice. But if you have a practice to do it, it actually does come online slowly by slowly. Okay. Especially during these crazy times, for all, what beauty would be possible if there's competency? That's the kind of question I like to meditate on. How beautiful could that be? So that's what we're doing here, is creating those seeds of competency in ourselves. Okay, other questions, comments, anything before we move right along? Okay, feel free to toss questions in that chat box as they come up, or save them to, we have a Q&A at the end of the day, and if we have extra time, we'll do it at the end of this section too. So, ready to move on to our next section? We got 2 practices to go. The first one I called in your syllabus, journaling practice. Oh, a little talk on projection too. Journaling practice 1, refining alchemical gold, the treasures in the triggers. And my friend and communication mentor, Scott Thomas, and his partner at the time, Emily, had this slogan that they would always say, the treasure is in the trigger, the treasure is in the trigger. And I was like, that's a good slogan. Carl Jung, I just read, had a great quote on alchemy, where he said something like, 90% of the shadow material is pure gold. Speaking out, it's like, you're gonna, there's 10, it's the fertilizer, which is also a gold, but you're gonna be if you can get to where you're triggered. This is another one of these main points I'd love to share with you, is we can start to train ourselves just like ultra marathoners do. I was just reading research on this. Their brains are made in this way where the body starts to experience unbearable hardship and hopelessness, and they've taught their brain to go, oh, hell yeah, hopelessness? I must be getting a workout. All right, time to put the gas on. It's like, what? How do you do that? Well, we could train our brain. We could reframe ourselves that when we get triggered, to go, all right, this is gonna be awesome. This is gonna, to have, to feel an intense emotional experience coming on, and to assume that awesomeness will ensue. Now, don't get me wrong, I also suggest that you run and hide when you're triggered. This is kind of a different class, but for NVC, for straight up communication, I always recommend using the red light, yellow light, green light model. Green light, we're talking like homies, we can make jokes, you'll laugh, sarcasm is even welcome, etc. Yellow light, you know you're in yellow light because you say something sarcastic and they say, what did you mean by that, right? So yellow light is time to use nonviolent communication methods strictly. Oh, I meant this. It sounds like that didn't come across. I was trying to be friends, but I can understand if that was offensive. What would you like me to hear about that, right? Yellow light. And then red light, volume goes up in the conversation. People start using expletives. People start talking over each other. Body language starts looking like primates. Just stop the conversation. Just end it. Unless your mediator is there or you're like a highly trained person. But I'm a highly trained person. And I tell Maria, I'll talk to you in a half hour. Please don't come to my room. You know? And then a half hour later, I text her, I'm like, I still love you, because the brain calms back down, you know? So if you're triggered, like, I hereby, as a minister, as an ordained minister of a sacred Buddhist order, I hereby give you permission to run and hide and not, hurt not thyself nor others. But while you run and hide, here's the thing you should say. This is gonna be great. You know, so, your heart's palpitating, your shoulders are up in your ears, your teeth are grinding. Reverend Fajun said, this is gonna be great. Okay, because there's a treasure in the trigger. So we wanna try to reframe ourselves that there's a treasure in the trigger. So Amanda's question I'm just seeing now, do the practice today, all month, every day until the next module, or just feel it out? Yeah, so definitely feel it out, but also I'd recommend those who are like on a course of training, do these as your practices for the month, right? Get it to where you can do it in a 20-minute session and do these as your practices, unless you've had other instructions from me in your one-on-one calls, because some of these won't be right for some people. So yeah, okay. So the treasure's in the trigger. And what do we mean by trigger? This is because this is like, you know, oh, are you triggered? Did I own a lib today? Are you triggered? Don't get triggered. No. Do you need a safe space? Did I hurt your fifis? Don't do that. That's not cool. Doesn't hurt my fifis. I do feel strongly about it though. Okay. So triggered, what I'm going to say is an emotional response out of proportion to the stimulus. An emotional response out of proportion to the stimulus. Now, of course, that, you know, like that's a soggy definition, right? It's not like, but again, I'm a martial arts person, right? And so like, I think, okay, here's one slightly political statement, although I don't believe it's political, but you can cover your ears if you need to. I think if we did a better job training our police in what I'm about to tell you, there would be maybe fewer problems with that, which is, as a martial artist, I'm trained if someone yells at you, you can't punch them, like legally, but also ethically. They go, you're a piece of trash, and you don't get to like elbow them in the teeth. If you do, any tooth that's lost, you pay for the dental work and emotional hardship and your own bail and your own lawyer. And like, so just like learn to calm down. It's going to save you a lot of money as well as karma. And then if they do punch you and you're a trained martial artist, you can punch them a little bit to get them off of you, but not a lot. Right? So if they yell at you, you can't punch them. If they do punch you and you've got more training than them, punch them a little bit, but not a lot. And etc. So I'm just extrapolating from my own experience. These are emotional responses in proportion, or no, these would be physical responses in proportion to the stimulus, right? So now similarly, if somebody says you're a piece of trash and you feel sad, that would be an emotional response, I would say, like in proportion to the stimulus. Like, oh, wow, I feel a little sad. Well, maybe they don't mean anything to you. Maybe they're on the news and they're like saying your type of people are, oh no, then maybe you would get really angry. And that would be in proportion, right? Some weirdo on the internet might say you got triggered, but actually your rage is totally in proportion to that stimulus, right? But let's say your best friend said, sorry, I can't go to dinner with you tonight. And you got enraged. What do you think? Is that in proportion? I mean, like there's no history here. They're just like, no, I'm sorry, I made other plans. You know, it's not in proportion, right? Your partner says, would you be willing to fold the clothes that just came out of the dryer? And it's like, it's hopeless. It's like, oh Jesus, do I ever do anything that's enough for you? That would be out of proportion. You done got triggered. You got triggered. Yeah, triggered after the last workshop. And that's great because we were doing like emotions in the meridians and stuff. So you can expect to get triggered sometimes as you do this work because it's bringing up treasures for you. So this gives us a clue in terms of what they call transference. So this is not a lecture on psychology or psychotherapy or anything like that, but we do need to know about transference, which is, if I'm remembering correctly, where you take emotions, thoughts, feelings associated with another relationship or situation, and you transfer them onto the current situation. Okay, so, you know, your dad always said, you never do enough around the house. And now when your partner says, will you please fold the laundry? You just, it's dad now. And your body, your nervous system is reacting to dad, even though that's not who you're dealing with, right? That would be an episode of transference. Similarly, maybe you loved your mom and your new acupuncturist has maternal vibes. And then after your acupuncture session, you're like, I think I'm falling in love with my acupuncturist. I don't understand. It's quite possible that you transferred mom relationship onto acupuncturist relationship. So that's a pleasant feeling trigger sometimes, the like falling in love with you until, you know, you realize like, wait, that's my acupuncturist. Like this isn't going anywhere. More on that in a different class. But, you know, it can be pleasant to have a crush, but you're still having a disproportionate response. You're like, oh, they were so polite. Okay, and now you're all randy? Like, that's not the response to politeness. Come on. So you could say triggered. Yeah, those darts, man. Okay, so transference. And then like counter transference, I think, is when the therapist does that back to the client. So anyway, don't do that. We'll do that in a different workshop. We'll talk about that. But just for now, just don't do it. And then projection. The way I'm going to use it is kind of a Jungian inspired shadow projection. And how Jung referred to the shadow is our disowned self. We can say it that way, the disowned self. So some of these that are popular are the aggressive man, right? I mean, it's not that popular. There are plenty of aggressive men out there, but there are also men who only had okay, here's personal share. You know, I only saw examples of male aggression and I said, well, I'll never do that. And so I disowned the thing entirely, the healthy part and the unhealthy part, right? Another shadow you may find is the slut, which we could translate as sexually empowered woman, right? But what society calls it is the slut, and so that's how she gets repressed, right? Wealth can be disempowered amongst like disowned self amongst like spiritual type folks who believe that that's like always associated with selfishness and theft or something like that. So we all have some of these disowned selves in ourself. So when this becomes a problem is in some situations, have you ever had this happen? I mean, I believe we all have, where somebody's talking to you and they're maybe not even giving any clues, although you could find them because you're looking for them, and you go like, I think they're really angry. I think they're really angry, you know, and then like, if you talk to them later, you could find out like, no, I wasn't angry in that conversation. You're like, well, why did I feel you were so angry? Well, if you have like moi, a repressed aggression, you know someone in the room is angry. And it can't possibly be you. So the only other option is that they are angry, right? My therapist is angry at me. My partner is angry at me. That guy I saw on TV, he's a hateful, aggressive punk of a person. Why is he so angry, right? And we would know that there's a likelihood that it's this projection because we're triggered, right? It's not that somebody really was like inciting violence on the TV and you were like, wow, I wonder why they're so angry, right? Like that wouldn't be a triggered response. It's that somebody comes on the TV and you're like, oh, I think there's something about them. I don't know what it is, but I think they're really pissed off. No, I'm not pissed off. They are. Okay, so this is the shadow projection. The shadow is this disowned self. The projection is when you hologram that on somebody else. You hologram that on somebody else. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Good. And so today I'm not going to like go over a lot of research. There is some cute research on this. And then one of the ones that you'll find is like, why are the people who are like such advocates like for like gay conversion therapy, like why do they always turn out to be secretly gay? Like shadow projection. Like the people who are like so against promiscuity and women's rights, why do their mistresses always seem to have abortions? Like shadow projection, right? Well, it couldn't be me. I'm a good Christian so-and-so on top. And then there's this whole disowned self that they pendulate back and forth in moments of weakness and then call everyone else, right? Shadow projection. Can you see why we might want to talk about this if we're trying to develop a clear intuition? Because these are the filters that you don't know is filters, right? So it's one thing to say, oh, cognitive overlay, of course. But when you go like, oh, that so-and-so, they're such a slut, the mind isn't going to go cognitive overlay. You're dealing with this like murky underground level of your being that we don't know we're looking through a lens, like it's a built-in lens. And so we need tools to be able to get at these things. Yes, how do you reconnect to your shadow self if you're not aware of it? Well, my friend, let's do shadow projection first, because that's what we're about. So this, what I want to give you is called the 3-2-1 process. The 3-2-1 process. And this means third person, second person, first person. That's what the 3-2-1 are. First, or third, second, and first person. Okay, so first things first, we're going to do this together. You can do this like as a meditation. It's like an inner contemplation, or you can journal this. And I recommend do it often because it's extremely fun. So think about something that really triggers you. Like for me, it used to be, oh, but not too big. Sorry, not too big. Like irks you. Think of something that's the word for it. It irks you. So like for me, it used to be the people in Northern California and Oregon who walk out into the street without looking if a car's there, right? Because like we're just so trained to like give away to trust one another that you can just, and it's like, so I've done my shadow work on that, really I have. But for a time, that was the thing that irked me. Like the sound my brakes would make when they right in the street. Okay, so think of something, not to overshadow you with mine, but what's something that irks you when you see, oh, you know, that gets my goat. Can you think of something that gets your goat, like it gets that trigger in you, right? Oh, what's that? So see if you can think of one. If you can think of one and you want to share it, put it in the chat box so we can have a little inspiration to go from. So, are you irked? I gotta think if I have a new one. Jaywalkers don't bug me too much. Oh, got him. I got him. Crap. Okay. Got it. Ooh, litter bugs. Irk. Yeah. Okay. So littering can be triggering. Heavy dumping on the side of the road. People who make noise in group meditation. Group meditation. This is so relaxing. Okay. Assuming community college. This is so therapeutic, you guys. Thank you for sharing. Community college means that it should be easy. People walking too slow down the sidewalk, right? So they're probably in your way, I'm guessing. Yeah. Take up all the space. That's similar to the one before. Extra paperwork at work. Yeah. Okay. Ooh, spiritual bypassing totes. Slow drivers in the fast lane. Yes. Okay. So you've got your irk. People who get too close. Yeah. 6 feet, y'all. 6 feet. Mind my dance space. So the spawn who refuse to clean their room. Irk. All right, good. It's so therapeutic to share these irks with you. Do you feel that? Do you feel the kind of like jubilance of sharing others' irks? Or is it just me? Okay, it's just me. But anyway, oh, okay, good. If you did feel it, that's actually the feeling of this energy becoming unrepressed. Like a lot of time, if we're doing this in a room together, we were like, litter bugs, we're like, yeah! And all of a sudden, like, oh, there's all this chi available because we're not stuffing down like, oh, don't be mad, you're a civilized person. It's like, no, it's time to get uncivilized, y'all. Yeah, people who refuse to show empathy to anyone who doesn't agree with them, but demand empathy for themselves. Irk! What the hell? You guys, come on. Okay, so you've got your irk, and what we want to whittle it down to is kind of like a one word for what they are doing. So it has to be at somebody. It can't just be a situation. Oh, I hate it when rocks fall on my feet. No, that's not going to work for this one. But what are they doing? So when I had a irk about jaywalkers, it was actually about the fact that it's inconsiderate. Once I drilled down to it, so think, and the thing to ask then is, what is it about that pisses you off? What is it about that pisses you off? Yeah, disrespect, disregard are coming through. So exactly, these are the kind of things, you know, like, not to give you this as your answer, Janelle, but I have a similar one for you. And for me, that one is like self-centeredness, or somebody just said entitlement, right? Like there's this like, yeah, entitlement. Urgh. Okay, so mansplaining, that's right. And then mansplaining, oh, and here's something we're going to do. We're going to do bad nonviolent communication. We're not going to do nonviolent communication well. So Kristen just did good, but she said what they do. But we actually want to think, what are they? Because we're accessing the trigger. That's why we're not going to say this out loud to anyone. So it's like, you're so inconsiderate. Like if I was using NVC, I might say, hey, when you walk out in the street without looking, I feel scared because I value your life and my car and the civilization we share. No, but in my mind, I'm like, you inconsiderate, right? So what are they? When someone mansplains, what are they being? What are they being? They're being a dick, obviously, but what is that? Are they being, you know, like, are they condescending? Oh, good, that's it, you nailed it, condescending. So we don't have a lot of time, but you can, if you, on the website, if you're doing this throughout the month, you can put in comments and we can like converse back and forth on this and help with this. So yeah, taking up space so they don't feel dumb. Yeah, so like, you can even just say like, you're a windbag, or for me, it's like self-centered, you know, or you're so, so they don't feel dumb would be like, you know, it's like they're trying to engage in some self-delusion, like, you know, they're hiding from themselves or something like that. So correctile dysfunction, exactly. Okay, when someone shows up enough to build trust and then violates it. Yeah, so they're a trust violator. Okay, so let me tell you the next step so we have time. So you can be doing this now, or you may need to go offline and like do this process. You may want to do a little bit of it at lunch or something like that. So what you do, the third person is you imagine that the enemy right? We're doing bad in VC, so we're allowed to have enemies for therapeutic value. The enemy's over there, and you get to think to yourself, they are so narcissistic. That's mine right now for my real irk. They're so effing narcissistic. Okay, so that's the first prompt. They are blank. Okay, and so as you're doing this, it helps if you actually like visualize there's the person, and in your mind you say, they are that. And then I'll pause in case you're doing that in your mind. They are that. What are they? They're so, I like to, they're so blank. Right? And then what you feel for is like an energy release. So what does that mean? Like you feel vitalized, or you feel an emotion come up, or sometimes you'll feel like this like click, like yes, like that's right. So you're feeling any of this like sense of inner congruence that comes when you say the thing, and you'll know you nailed it when you get that like inner ding, right? So when it's like, they're so, what's the word for mansplainy? Yeah. Yeah, I'll say like over dominant. That's what I can come up with. So they're so over dominant, overbearing. That'll be mine. I'll say like, oh, they're so overbearing, right? Controlling, whatever it is. So they're so, and then you'll know you got it because you say that in your mind while thinking of them, and your body goes like, yeah, that's right. Okay. Then, second one is now you imagine you're face to face with them. And you're going to tell them, you're so blank. So imagine you get to sit down, the mansplainer, and this is your visualization. This is your sacred temple. They cannot hurt you here. You can tell them whatever you want. It's actually their best self. It's their higher self that's there. And so you tell them, you're so blank, overbearing. And then they get a chance to tell you why. They get a chance to tell you why. Their higher self is there, and they get a chance to tell you why. You're so blank. And they go, yeah, well, I blank because, I actually feel really insecure. I'm blank because I never had any better training than that. I'm blank because that's how I thought you ran a business. Like I went to Harvard Business School and they told me to be this way every day of my life. No, it's the same as the first thing. It's the same as the first thing. So whatever it was, you're so condescending. You're so inconsiderate, whatever. And there's a reason I told you to do this with an irk and not a major trigger, because with a major trigger, you don't want to hear their story, right? You don't give a rat's booty about their excuses. But for a litterbug, right, there is a reason why they're so unconscious, why they're so entitled, why they're so whatever. Okay. Then the last one, and I'm just downloading this so we can do lunch on time, and then we can have questions when we come back. The last one is, then they disappear, their higher self disappears in your contemplation. You could have journaled this all out. Oh, they're like that because of this. They're like that because of this, blah, 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 blah. And then this is one of the 3, 2, 1 is, I'm so blank. And you fill in the word. You fill in the word. I'm so narcissistic. And you'll get one of 2 responses. So I'll pause in case you want to try that. I'm so blank.
Same word we've been using?
Yep. I'm so fill in the blank. Okay. And you'll usually get one of 2 responses. Either your mind will go, nuh-uh, in which case you have found a disowned self. In which case you have found a disowned self. Or your mind will go, oh shit. In which case you will have found a disowned self. So for example, we'll drill down this for 2 minutes and then we'll go to lunch. For example, like my word that clicked was like, they're so narcissistic, right? They just think like their views are the only views and everything is meant to bow to their whim and blah, 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 blah. And then I said, you're so narcissistic. I'm like, well, I'm like this because of this and this. I'm like, I'm so narcissistic. And I'm like, no, I'm not. What the? Oh, shit. And my whole MO is to repress the self-centering impulse, is to repress the self-centering impulse. Now, that doesn't mean that my friends would say I'm not narcissistic. It just means my image of myself is an anti-narcissist, right? It doesn't mean it's true. It just means that I have repressed it. So when I say that, the last step to do this is you have to ask, what would be the healthy expression of that energy? What would be the healthy expression of that energy? So we know, like the usual expressions of narcissism that we see are unhealthy, right? And that's why they're triggering me. But like, I'm supposed to be like leading a congregation and like being the sifu of these qigong programs and stuff like that. And any day where I crawl into my hole and I'm like, well, nobody needs to hear your voice, buddy. Just, chill out. Like, I'm actually depriving the world of a gift. And then sometimes if I do that and people are like, that's not a gift. And I'm like, oh, you're right. Okay, never mind. Like, part of me needs to be able to go like, no, F that guy. He's wrong. I'm a gift. I'm a gift no matter, and y'all should listen to me, okay? Like, that would actually be healthy in my case. It's not always healthy in the people who trigger me, but it might be healthy for me sometimes. Does that make sense? What would be the healthy expression of this energy? So like, even litter bugs underneath, and this relates to that nonviolent communication stuff that you can read all about from the reading list. They're trying to meet universal human needs, right? Like they might need like rest or to matter or ease or flow. They're meeting it in totally irresponsible ways. Like, let's be completely honest about that. But in you may have seen that in your world and repressed your needs for flow and ease and to matter. And that's why they make you so mad. Right? Like, and if you're not going to tell them like, hey, would you mind picking up that litter, please? Like, if your only choices are like, go away and grind your teeth or shout at them, y'all got shadow repression. And this is the way we start to unplug that and transmute the alchemical gold. Okay, so we're over time for lunch. If you need to go right now to lunch, that's great, but I will stay for 5 minutes in case there's any questions or a little soft exit from this practice. 3, 2, 1 process, and you can try it over your break if you want. We'll talk about it when we come back, or we have like, the chat function in our online library, so you can do this, post questions about it later, and we can come back and work with it. But I hope this download gives you the tools to start with that. Other journaling we'll do after lunch. Very good, very good. All right, cool. So go away, think up questions. When we come back, we'll do a little bit of Q&A welcome back. Then soon we'll dive right into practice. So don't eat too much at the end of the lunch because it'll make your practice uncomfortable. And then we'll have more fun. Yeah, okay. Yes, the numbers actually are 3 means third person. So that means they are so blank. 2 means second person. You are so blank. 1 means first person. I am so blank. So the process is, yeah, figure out what irks you, blame that on somebody, blame it on them to their face, then blame it on yourself, and finally, what's the healthy version of that? And I'll make notes for this in your library after we're done with the class too. So, all right. Good, good, good. All right, so be back at 2:30, please, and we will do a whole afternoon of great, great stuff. Thank you so much. See you soon.